Hey there, CZ Math students. Welcome to Homework 5.1, one-step equations with justification. Please check off if you watched the entire video. Calculator's okay? Let's do tomorrow. All right, so we're going to do kind of three things with just one problem. We're going to solve it, justify it, and check our answer by plugging in. So, problem number one, I'm going to go ahead and draw my scales of justice. And I'm going to start asking myself, okay, my variable is on the left-hand side of this equation, right? The equal sign says, all right, that's the left-hand side, that's the right-hand side. I see subtraction. Because I see subtraction, I am there going to go ahead and use addition to isolate my variable. I'm going to use inverse operation. So I'm going to say, instead of minus 20, I'm going to say plus 20 to both sides. Plus 20. Notice that negative 20 and 20, or minus 20 and 20, cancel out. I get to drop down my x. Please go ahead and do it exactly how I'm doing by drawing the arrow and everything. Then I still leave a big space right there with the equal sign, and then I say negative 20 plus 20 is positive 4. That was a DSSM problem to label it. I go ahead and say add 20 to that and get 4 as my answer. Now, I'm not done. I've circled my answer and everything like that. Now I'm going to go over and plug my answer in, right? My original equation was x minus 20 equals negative 16. So I'm going to check. 4 minus 20 equals negative 16. I could say plus negative here. That is a DSSM problem. That gives me negative 16 equals negative 16, so I know I am correct. I would pause and try and do number 2 because it's exactly like number 1 but with different numbers. And as you do it, make sure you show the work just like I did over on the solve part and fill in the words like I did on the justified and make sure to check. Number 3, again, once you see an equation, it's helpful to go ahead and draw your scales of justice to determine, okay, where are the sides of my equation? What's the left side? What's the right side? I see that my variable in this case is on the left side of the equation over here, and I see addition. See plus negative 8. So therefore, I'm going to use subtraction to isolate my variable. Now here's the key thing. Because this is a negative 8, I need to make sure to subtract a negative 8 from both sides. And in fact, let me put that in red so you guys understand how important this is. Subtract negative 8 from both sides. Subtract negative 8. Now what this ends up being is really you're adding positive 8 to both sides. That makes sense because negative 8 plus 8 is 0, which isolates our variable, right? We get 0 on that side. X is equal to 11 minus negative 8, which is positive 19, right? So C is our answer, and you got to say I subtracted negative 8 to both sides. And get 19 as my answer. So we're going to check by plugging in. So it was x plus negative 8, and I'm going to say 19 plus negative 8. 19 plus negative 8 is 11, is equal to 11. So therefore, I know I am correct. All right. Number 4, you go ahead and ask yourself how to do that one. Number 5, again, if I draw a line right here, I see, okay, my variable is on the left-hand side of the equation again. I see this time a number next to a variable. I see multiplication, right? There's no addition, no subtraction sign. I see multiplication. So therefore, I'm going to use division to isolate my variable. And I'm going to divide by the exact coefficient. So if it's a negative 2x, I divide by a negative 2. Why? Because I want to get this variable isolated, right? Dividing by negative 2 means that negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1, meaning all I'm left over with is x on that side equals 12 divided by negative 2. That is a different signs negative. Got my calculator to help me out. It gives me negative 6, so B. So I divide both sides. I divide by negative 2 and get negative 6 as my answer. I plug back in, right? It was negative 2x equals 12. I plug in negative 6. Negative 2 times negative 6 is 12 equals 12. Therefore, I am correct. Notice how helpful this is, right? Had I gotten 6, say, as my answer, and I plugged in 6, negative 2 times 6 would have gotten me negative 12. That does not equal 12, and therefore, I would know that I was incorrect. Okay. Last one I'm going to do is number 7. So My variable, again, is on the left-hand side. I see division. When I see division, I am going to go ahead and multiply, or use multiplication, to isolate my variable. I'm going to multiply by the exact coefficient. So in this case, 14 is attached to n, so I multiply both sides by 14 times 14. Again, these guys cancel out. 14 times n is 14n. Divided by 14 is just 1. So I'm just left with n. n is equal to negative 140. Right? Because that was a DSN, right? So A is my answer. And I multiplied by 14 to get negative 140 as my answer. Watch out for the signs, those are important. So I plug negative 140 back into my equation, divide that by 14, I get negative 10 equals negative 10. All right, that is it. You've got the evens, and you've got these two word problems to kind of tackle on your own. Use your notes, try your best, check your work, good to go. Call me if you have questions.